Hi guys, in today's tutorial I will be showing you how to work with chalk pastels. We're only going to be working with a few colors, but this is the set that I have from Surgeon Art. And how to create variations in color, how to create shadows, how to make transitions from light to dark. So let's get started. So first we're going to create two color schemes like this. So you're going to choose one color from your complementary pair that you're going to choose for your project, but you can choose one color and you're going to put it in the center of your transition scale. So in this case I have a blue, and you're going to layer it several times to make sure that the color is as bright, as rich, and as pure as you can get it. And then you're going to make a transition from that color going to lighter tones using white into darker tones using black or gray, whichever you have. And then we're going to make another transition of complementary tones from, in this case I have from green to red, starting with the pure color on the ends, and then by adding a little bit of red to the green and a little bit of green to the red, creating all the neutral tones in between. So I will show you how we're going to do that. Alright, so I'm starting with two strips. Each one has 9 squares. You can use 7 or 9 squares at least. Use an odd number, it works out a little bit better. And let's start. I think I'm going to create a blue and orange combination. So for this project we're going to use a pair of complementary colors. These are the colors that are opposite each other on the color wheel. So for example, you could use red and green, blue and orange, or yellow and purple. These would be really good color combinations. So you just choose one of these that you're going to work with and use that color in here. Maybe I'll use yellow and purple because I don't use it as often. But what I want you to test out before, you may have several oranges or several blues, like I have in here. I have different oranges. But if I use this orange to mix with my blue, it's possible that this is too yellow, it's going to create a green. So if I layer down the blue and mix it with this orange, see how greenish my tone is? But if I lay down this blue and mix it with this orange, it's a little bit more of a brown tone. So you want to create a neutral tone. So make sure you pick the right blue and the right orange, or the right green or purple. So purple and yellow are pretty hard, but they're also very beautiful. But the hard part is that they're so different from each other in value. Yellow is so light and purple is so dark. Blue and orange is a really nice combination. So maybe we will start with the, I just feel like doing a purple for the tone. So I'm going to use a purple for the light and dark palette. So I'm going to put the purple in the center, and what I want to show you, there's different ways you can put pastel on like that, but you see the paper is showing through, so it's actually changing the color. It's not as vibrant. You want to layer pastel on really well so that the color is nice and rich and pure. You get the maximum color out of your stick. Now, if you're working on this at home, because I'm filming video, I have to have my path horizontal. However, if you're working on this at home, it would be easier for you if you have it vertical, because you can see there's a lot of dust coming off the pastel, and it's kind of easier when it just falls down. You don't have to keep taking it off. You can draw with it. You can erase pastel, so they're pretty easy to work with, just like charcoal. And what we're going to do is I'm going to start adding a little bit of white to my purple. So the next one, the next square is going to be purple with a little bit of white mixed into it so that it's a slightly lighter purple in the first one. Yeah, maybe like that much. You can blend this a little bit with your fingers if you want to make the color really, really smooth. And the next one is going to have even more white so that it creates even a lighter value. I have to really layer the white. Make sure that each of the squares is completely even in value, like you don't have darker or lighter areas, and make sure that they're actually touching so that you can see the difference between the values, right? So the next one, I'm going to put a little bit less of the purple, so just a little, and then mix it in with the white. So that, oops, I didn't go all the way to the edge. So this one is even lighter. And because you could layer pastel on top of each other, you can adjust this as you go. So for example, here I have a big jump. So maybe I come back into this one and add just a little bit more, make it a touch lighter. Again, you can even it out. And then we're getting lighter and lighter. So this one is maybe I even start with white and just add a touch of purple so that it's very light. Maybe even add a little bit more white. So it's kind of like a tinted violet white, you could say. And the next one will just be, I think that was my last one, but I will just make a white right here. It's quite a big jump from this to white, so I could have made lighter values in here. And then going this way, I'm going to mix purple with black, making it darker. So just a little bit at the beginning. Now the black is also going to make the color a little bit more neutral, not so intense bright purple, as you could see. When you blend it with your finger, try not to press too much so that you don't lift the color. You just kind of blend it at the on the surface. You can also crisscross, just like we did with charcoal. You can use different values. I could see that in the camera, maybe you don't see the distinction as well of the dark values because the light right now is not great. Or this one, actually, I should have made all black, so I'm going to make this really dark. And I need to take a break and let the cat in. All right, so now we're going to create the transition from one color to another. So let's try yellow on one end and purple on another. I'm just going to do it here. So as I mentioned, these are going to be big jumps because the yellow is so light and the purple is so dark, right? So it's very strong. So we're going to need like a tiniest amount. I'm using the side of the pastel just so that I don't put as much pigment on. Yeah, let's try. Oops. I'm going to really create this very even kind of value. That may be a little bit too drastic, so maybe we'll make it a little bit lighter with yellow. Let's see what happens as we keep going. So here we're going to make even more purple. Again, make sure that they're touching, that there's no breaks between them. and that it's an even value throughout. I think I may have made too big of a jump. Let's see where this will be. So this is purple with a tiny bit of yellow. Just making the purple neutral a little bit, right? So it's not really, it doesn't make it that much lighter. It kind of just makes it more gray, less purple. And the next one will have a bit more yellow. Look like that. And the next one, so I think I might make this a little bit lighter so that we have a bit more room to work with. So here's, yeah, that looks better. And then this one as well. It's almost, it's like a scale, just like the scale with sounds or any kind of scale where you want to have equal intervals between each of the each change. With each change you want to have an equal interval. So from this to this to this should be like an equal interval. You see, this is too close, so I think I'm going to make this even lighter. I told you yellow and purple are the hardest ones. There, making this even more yellow. Make it a little more even. And then this one, more purple. Still too close. I think I still have to go lighter here. Can maybe add a little bit more purple here, but we don't want these to be the same, so maybe add a little more purple here too. There we go. That looks better. And then this we're going to add just a touch too much, so you want it to be just between these two so that it's, again, a gradual transition, something like that. So this is your scale from one complementary color to another, and this is your scale of one color going from lighter to darker. So for this still life, you just want to collect a few, 3 or 4 or 5 objects around your home that are in this complementary color scheme. So here I have collected objects of different kinds of blue and some orange objects. You can also include things that are kind of more neutral, like maybe I could include like this mirror, which is white and reflecting my objects, right? Anything that is silver or neutral can also be included. So this is in blue and orange combination. And here's an example of a few objects in the red and green color scheme. Once you have your objects set up in front of you, you're going to draw them out on a full 18 by 24 piece of paper. You can use newsprint for this because chalk pastels work just fine on newsprint. And I want to show you, these are just some examples of, this is not the still life, these are just individual objects, but I want to show you how to use color to shade and to give volume and a sense of light in your still life. So here you can see this is the blue and orange combination, using orange first and then add blue added to it to create the shadow, and vice versa, or I mean here as well, actually using orange and blue in the shadow. And this is an example of yellow and purple in the same way, just like when we made the color gradation. So yellow as the base color with purple for the shadows. And in here, it's the red and green combination, using red to create the shadows in the green lime and using green to create shadows in the red. So I'll show you how we do it. Okay, so I'm going to start with the orange and blue, and I have like this orange here, maybe also sliced orange. We'll draw those right now. So I'm going to use orange as my base coat. When you're complete with your still life, your entire paper should be filled with color. Maybe a few sections of the paper could be without color, but most of your paper should be in color. So since we work with pastel in layers, you can pretty much layer the color everywhere that you're going to need it, and then begin to work on top of it to make some areas lighter and some areas darker. So I'm going to make also, you can also draw ahead of time with pencil, but you can also just draw with pastel, since you can again layer all your colors. So this is my orange, but now I'm going to use a little bit of blue, and I'm going to blend the color with my finger just so that the blue and the orange actually begin to mix together to create the shadow. And you want to have a transition, just like we had a transition in our color scheme. You want to have a gradual transition to have the dimension, the volume, to show the volume of the orange. You can see I left a little bit more light on the edge to have more of a reflection here. And then there's a highlight here, so you can use white to show that highlight, but you can also later maybe add just a little bit of yellow to your orange just to change the color a bit. You can also, if there are you know, kind of folds in the skin of the orange, you can add those in. And again, blend them. You don't want them to look blue. You simply want them to, you simply want to create a little bit of variation in value and make them transition. And then in some cases it's going to be even darker, so I'm going to add more blue. So far I'm only using these 3 sticks between the orange, white and blue, creating all the variations just with these 3 colors. Right, so you can build it up. I'm adding a little bit of white just to lighten up and exaggerate the bumps on the orange, right? And in this case of the cut orange, I may use the white to show the light, the thickness of the skin. So in the center, and then actually use some of the blue to darken these inner parts of the slices, you know, the, now of course that's a little bit too much, so I'm gonna layer orange on top. There is also a change in value underneath in here. And then I'm going to layer some of the orange on top to change the color a bit. And bring in the light around it. So you can see how, again, just with those few colors, I'm starting to define dimension, even a little bit of texture. Not so much texture yet, but some of the bumps, and but definitely the dimension and volume and the different parts of the orange. And maybe I use blue for the shadows. You can see also what a beautiful contrast blue creates against the orange. I'm going to move it a little bit. You guys can't see it very well. It makes the orange more vibrant in a way. But also, if you want, you can mix a little bit of orange into the blue, so the shadow is a bit more neutral. And also a little bit darker too. But you can leave a little bit of blue shining through. It looks nice. Like so. So that's how you would begin to work. You can also use maybe blue here. And just remember, you still have white, so maybe in this part you will make your blue lighter by adding a little bit of white. So you can see when you layer pastels, they should look almost like paint, really saturated, soft. You can create all these transitions. And again, I want to emphasize, this is just an example. This is not your full still life. Your full still life should take over your entire 18 by 24 piece of paper. I'm not going to make a full still life in this video because there's plenty of examples on Canvas under our project. But I am showing you how to blend the colors to begin to make your drawing. And once you have created this, if you feel that you want to create a little bit more color variation, look what happens if I just add just a little bit, my finger is a little dirty, but a little bit of yellow into my orange. All of a sudden it brings this like extra luminosity because it makes for a variation in the orange color. So it's really nice. Maybe I even add a little bit of that yellow into the skin. I didn't even blend this well enough. And also remember that you can use pastel smooth like I have been using by blending all the colors nicely. But you could also add colors with strokes, with little marks, and allow, just like in charcoal, and allow those little marks to show through. Also here I was using marks to kind of bring a little bit more interest and texture and variation so that not everything is really smooth in your drawing. All right, so I hope this gives you enough examples. Set up your still life and start working on a color still life in pastels.